Hey, hey, I just went to the Usher concert, and Usher wasn't getting love like that. I just seen Chris Brown just glide all across the doggone stadium. He didn't get all that. Bro, these cats was wilding out. I was like, what are we doing here?
Something happened at Cleveland Browns training camp that the mainstream media does not want you to see. While every major outlet was busy writing their same recycled narrative about how Shedeur Sanders is just a project, just a fifth-round pick learning on the job, a former NFL player walked onto that practice field with trained eyes and came back with one word: undeniable. The throws coming out of Shedeur's hand right now are not check downs. They are not safe little flips to the flat to pad a completion percentage. They are lasers between multiple defenders, layered throws over the top of safeties, and tight window darts that would be highlight reel material at any level of football on the planet. Meanwhile, the veterans in that quarterback room have combined for 3 interceptions in 3 days of camp. Shedeur has 0. And here is the part that should make every single person paying attention sit up a little straighter. The owner of the Cleveland Browns, Jimmy Haslam himself, was spotted standing directly behind the second team huddle watching every single throw Shedeur made. Not the first team, not the veteran, the rookie. Before I break down everything that went down, drop a fire emoji in the comments right now if you think the numbers already tell the story.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
There was a level of maturity of what he was doing. It was a level of, if you ain't really played, if you ain't really seen it. That's why I told everybody, bro, you gotta see it. Because when you get the eye, when you got the football eye, I know when I see it. I know when I see it. It's undeniable. Where are you throwing that? We can't do that.
This is Gridiron Ground, and we are about to show you what the mainstream is hiding. 3 interceptions versus 0. The owner standing behind the rookie, not the veteran. If you are not subscribed to Gridiron Ground yet, this is the video that is going to make you understand why this channel exists. We do not follow the narrative. We break it. Drop that fire emoji and let us get into the real story. There is a reason Shedeur Sanders looked different at training camp, and it has nothing to do with talent. Talent was never the question. The question was always whether the mental side of the game would catch up to the physical gifts. And according to someone who was standing on that practice field with decades of football experience wired into his brain, the answer showed up on day 3 in a way that you could not miss if you knew what to look for. The footwork was different. The patience in the pocket was different. The poise between his ears was completely transformed from what anyone saw last season. And the most important change had nothing to do with arm strength or accuracy. It was the unbotheredness. Last year, when Shedeur took the field for those late season appearances, there was a visible weight on him. Every throw carried the pressure of proving something. Every incompletion felt like it confirmed what the doubters had been saying since draft night. There was a spirit of struggle around everything he did, and it showed up in his body language, his decision-making, and his ability to process information at the speed this league demands. That struggle was not about football. It was about everything surrounding football. The noise, the narratives, the people who had already written the verdict before the trial even started. But something shifted between then and now. The work that happened in the dark, the off-season reps that nobody filmed and nobody posted on social media, the mental reps that do not show up on any stat sheet, all of that accumulated into what showed up on that practice field. Shedeur did not just wake up one morning and start dropping dimes like a 10-year veteran. This was the result of a process. Small steps taken day after day when nobody was watching. Decisions made in the quiet moments to put in extra film study instead of scrolling through the noise online. Choosing to trust the process instead of trying to fight every critic with a flashy play. And when you add all of those small decisions together over the course of an entire offseason, what you get is a quarterback who walks onto the field looking like a completely different player. Not because his arm changed, because his mind changed. The processing speed was faster. The reads were quicker. The ball was coming out on time instead of a half-second late because he was second-guessing himself. And the most telling sign of all was how he responded when things did not go perfectly. Because things did not go perfectly. There were moments early in practice where the timing was off, where the offensive line had communication issues, where a throw sailed just a bit too far outside. Last year, those moments would have snowballed. One bad rep would lead to pressing on the next one, which would lead to a forced throw, which would lead to exactly the kind of mistake that ends up on every negative highlight compilation the internet can produce. But this version of Shedeur flushed those moments like they never happened. Bad rep reset. Next play. Clean throw. Move on. That is not something you can coach into a quarterback who does not already have the foundation for it. You can refine it. You can create an environment that nurtures it. But the raw material has to be there, and it is there. It showed up on every single rep after that initial shaky start, and it showed up in the one number that matters more than any other in a quarterback competition. 0 interceptions, 3 days of camp, not a single turnover. If you are watching this on Gridiron Ground, you already know we do not sugarcoat and we do not exaggerate. That number is real. That transformation is real. And what it means for this quarterback competition is something the mainstream media is going to have a very hard time explaining away as camp continues. Let us talk about the football because the football is where the argument ends and the evidence begins. Shedeur Sanders was not out there throwing checkdowns and screen passes to pad a completion percentage and make himself look efficient on a stat sheet. He was throwing the ball into windows that most rookie quarterbacks do not even see, let alone have the courage to attack. There was a throw to Casey Washington during a third and long period that defied everything the pre-draft evaluation community told you about this quarterback. The ball placement was surgical, dropped into a spot where only the receiver could get to it, high enough to give the pass catcher a chance to go up and make a play, but placed precisely enough that the defender had zero opportunity to contest it. And the receiver went up and got it.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
That catch from the stands where the footage was captured looked like something you would see in a playoff game, not a training camp practice in late July. But it was not just one throw. It was a sequence of throws that built on each other and painted a picture of a quarterback who is operating with genuine anticipation instead of reacting to what he sees after the fact. There was a throw between two defenders that split the coverage like a surgeon's blade. Not a window most quarterbacks at this level would even identify as a viable option. Shedeur saw it, trusted it, and delivered the ball on time with velocity and location that gave his receiver the chance to catch and run instead of catching and bracing for impact. Another throw to Denzel Boston on what looked like an intermediate route where the ball arrived before the break was even complete. That is anticipation. That is throwing to a spot based on where the receiver is going to be, not where he currently is. And that is the single hardest thing for any quarterback to develop at the professional level because it requires a combination of trust, processing speed, and mechanical consistency that most players spend years trying to build. Shedeur is showing it in camp, in his second year, in a brand new offensive system with a brand new coaching staff. And the most important detail about these throws is that they were not happening with the first team offense. They were happening with the second team, the twos, which means the receivers he was connecting with were not the top-tier weapons on the roster getting the best blocking and the cleanest looks. He was doing this with the second unit, against defenders who were also competing for roster spots and playing with desperation-level intensity on every single rep. If these throws are happening against twos competition, imagine what happens when this quarterback gets consistent first-team reps with the top receivers and the best protection the offensive line can offer. The ceiling on this arm is not what the draft analysts told you it was. It is higher, significantly higher, and the evidence is piling up day after day in a way that is becoming impossible for even the most determined skeptics to dismiss. Denzel Boston deserves his own chapter in this story, because that young man caught everything thrown his way regardless of who was throwing it. Whether it was Shedeur, Watson, or anyone else, Boston was going up and getting the football with a physicality and consistency that suggests he is going to force his way onto this roster and into a significant role much faster than most people expected. The connection between Shedeur and Boston specifically looked like something that has been developing quietly behind the scenes. The timing was too clean, the trust was too obvious, and the body language between them after completions suggested a partnership that is only going to get stronger as camp progresses. Here is the detail that should have been the lead story on every single Browns media outlet and somehow got buried beneath the usual noise. Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Cleveland Browns, the man who signs every check and approves every major decision this franchise makes, was spotted standing directly behind the second-team huddle during practice. Not the first team, not the side where Watson was operating with the starters. He was positioned behind Shedeur Sanders and the twos, watching every single throw, every single read, every single coaching point delivered between reps. Let that sit for a moment. Because in the NFL, where you stand matters almost as much as what you say, owners do not randomly wander around practice fields. They do not accidentally end up behind specific position groups. Every movement at that level is deliberate, every positioning is intentional, and every signal sent by the most powerful person in the building carries weight that echoes through the entire organization. Haslam standing behind the second-team offense tells you something that no press conference, no official statement, and no carefully worded coach-speak answer could ever communicate as clearly. He is watching the rookie. He is evaluating the investment. He is making his own assessment separate from whatever the coaching staff is telling him in their daily briefings. And based on what Shedeur was putting on film during that exact period, what Haslam saw was a young quarterback dropping dimes into tight windows with the kind of accuracy and anticipation that makes franchise quarterbacks. Now connect this to the bigger picture that has been developing over the past few weeks. The Browns signed Denzel Ward to a new contract extension. They signed Grant Delpit to a new deal. They brought in Jard Verse. They invested in pieces around this roster that do not align with a tanking strategy. If this organization believed they were going to be bad this year, if they believed none of these quarterbacks could win games, why would they commit long-term money to defensive players who are in their prime right now? The answer is they would not. You do not invest in the present if you have already conceded the future. And the fact that Haslam is physically positioning himself behind the young quarterback during practice while simultaneously locking up defensive cornerstones to new deals tells you everything about where this franchise believes it is headed. This is not a rebuild year. This is not a tank year. This is a year where the Cleveland Browns believe they have a chance to compete, and they believe the quarterback who gives them the best chance to do that might be the one everybody told them could not play. If you are locked in with Gridiron Ground, you understand that we track the details other channels miss. The owner's positioning on the practice field is not gossip. It is intelligence. It is the kind of observation that separates people who understand how organizations operate from people who just read box scores and repeat whatever the loudest voice on social media told them to think. Haslam was not out there getting a tan. He was not killing time between meetings. He was evaluating his franchise's future, and he chose to do it from behind the huddle of a quarterback that mainstream media has been telling you is not ready, not talented enough, and not worthy of the opportunity he is getting. The evidence keeps piling up. The narratives keep crumbling, and the people who have been paying attention from the beginning are starting to feel very vindicated right about now. But the throws and the owner's presence are only part of the story. What happened with the defense on this day is something that adds an entirely new dimension to where this team is headed. While every camera and every conversation was focused on the quarterback competition, something was happening on the other side of the ball that deserves just as much attention. The Cleveland Browns defense did not just show up to practice. They showed up angry. Mason Graham was in the backfield on nearly every single snap he participated in. The first-round pick out of Michigan was getting off the line of scrimmage with a burst and a violence that made offensive linemen look like they were moving through water while he was moving through air. Alex Wright looked like a man who knows another contract is coming and is determined to make sure the price tag goes up with every single practice rep. He was a menace. There is no other word for it.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
He was disrupting plays before they could develop, collapsing the pocket from angles that should not have been available to him, and playing with the kind of relentless motor that makes offensive coordinators lose sleep the night before a game. Mike Hall flashed in ways that suggested the physical tools are still very much there despite the questions that have surrounded him. He was in the backfield multiple times, showed burst off the snap that he had not consistently displayed in recent memory, and played with an intensity that felt like a statement more than a routine practice performance. Isaiah McGuire was moving around the formation with a versatility that creates problems for offensive lines trying to identify where the pressure is coming from. And then there was Quincy Williams. If you have not been paying attention to what Quincy Williams is doing in this defense, you need to start immediately. He was moving with anticipation that made him look like a safety playing linebacker. The speed was startling. The instincts were elite. He was jumping routes, reading quarterback eyes, and positioning himself in passing lanes before the ball was even released. The interception he picked off during one of Watson's reps over the middle was not a lucky play. It was a play that was going to happen regardless of which linebacker got there first, because if Williams had not caught it, Carson Steele was in position to make the exact same play right behind him. That is how fast and how instinctive this linebacking core is operating right now. And Denzel Ward. The message with Ward is simple. Stop throwing over there. Just stop. The man just got paid and he is playing like he wants to earn the next contract before the ink is dry on this one. Anything thrown in his direction during practice was either broken up, contested, or caught with Ward draped all over the receiver, making the catch as difficult as physically possible. Grant Delpit got his new deal and immediately looked like a different player. The speed was up. The physicality was up. The communication was louder and more authoritative. There is something about financial security that unlocks a level of confidence in professional athletes that is difficult to quantify but impossible to miss when you see it in person. The combination of Williams and Steele in the middle of the field with Delpit roaming behind them created what can only be described as a jailbreak on multiple blitz packages. The pressure was coming from everywhere. The coverage behind the pressure was tight enough to eliminate the quick throw answers that quarterbacks typically use to beat the blitz. It was coordinated chaos designed to make life miserable for any quarterback standing in that pocket, and it absolutely succeeded on multiple reps throughout practice. This defense is not a unit that has accepted the idea of tanking or rebuilding. This is a defense that believes it can dominate, and based on what they showed during this practice, that belief is not delusional. It is backed up by the kind of speed, instinct, and aggression that wins football games in the fourth quarter when the score is tight, and one stop can change everything. There's a reason the quarterback competition in Cleveland feels different from every other training camp battle across the league right now, and his name is Todd Monken. What Monken has done since arriving in Cleveland is something that a lot of coordinators talk about but very few actually have the courage to execute. He gave every single quarterback a genuine, unbiased opportunity to earn the starting job based purely on what they put on the field. No predetermined favorite. No whisper campaigns. No backroom decisions made before the first snap of camp was even taken. He told the media point blank that the team would decide the quarterback, not him, not the front office, not the noise machine outside the building. The team. And when he said team, he meant it in the most literal sense possible. Because in Monken's system, the quarterback has to earn the trust of the 10 other players in that huddle. The receivers have to believe that the ball is going to be in the right spot at the right time. The offensive linemen have to believe that the guy behind them is going to make their effort worth it by making good decisions under pressure. The running backs have to believe that the play fakes and the handoffs are going to be executed with the kind of precision that makes the run game and the pass game feed off each other instead of existing in separate universes. That is what Monken means when he says the team will decide. He is watching how the other players respond to each quarterback. He is watching who the huddle gravitates toward. He is watching which quarterback makes the players around him better simply by being on the field. And here is something that has not gotten nearly enough attention. Monken came from an environment where Lamar Jackson was the quarterback. He watched one of the most dynamic players in NFL history operate at the highest level of the sport. His expectations are not calibrated to some watered-down version of professional quarterbacking. He expects excellence. He expects 10 different cadences. He expects the quarterback to command the line of scrimmage like a general commanding a battlefield. When asked how many cadences he wants going into the season, his answer was immediate and without hesitation. All of them. That is not a coordinator who is going to lower the bar for a rookie. That is a coordinator who is going to raise the bar and challenge every quarterback in that room to meet it or get left behind. And the fact that Shedeur Sanders is not only meeting that standard but responding to it with enthusiasm instead of intimidation tells you something about the competitive wiring inside this young man that draft evaluators clearly missed or deliberately ignored. Monken's offense is built on complexity disguised as simplicity. Motion before the snap. Misdirection that forces defenders to hesitate for a fraction of a second. Route combinations that layer multiple options at different levels of the field, so the quarterback always has an answer regardless of what the defense presents. It is a system that rewards intelligence, processing speed, and the ability to play with discipline while still being aggressive enough to take calculated risks when the opportunity presents itself. Shedeur is thriving in it, not surviving, thriving. The anticipation throws, the tight window completions, the willingness to layer the ball over defenders into spaces that require surgical accuracy. All of it suggests that Monken's scheme is unlocking something in Shedeur that was always there, but never had the right structure around it to fully emerge. And Monken's willingness to engage with Deshaun Sanders instead of treating him like a threat only amplifies the positive environment surrounding the rookie quarterback. When your coordinator and your father are aligned, when the organizational culture welcomes your support system instead of trying to shut it out, the result is a young player who can focus entirely on getting better instead of navigating political landmines every single day. That is the Todd Monken effect, and it is showing up on film whether the mainstream media wants to acknowledge it or not. What happened during the fan interaction portion of training camp is something that needs to be documented, because it destroys a narrative that has been pushed for months by people who either do not attend these events or deliberately ignore what is right in front of their faces. The reception Shedeur Sanders received from the crowd was not just enthusiastic, it was volcanic. Fans were reacting to his presence with a level of energy that surpassed anything Cleveland has seen from a player in recent memory. And this is a city that has had Baker Mayfield as the #1 overall pick. A city that brought in Odell Beckham Jr. A city that signed Deshaun Watson to one of the biggest contracts in NFL history. None of those arrivals generated the kind of organic, visceral, ground-level excitement that Shedeur Sanders is producing right now in late July at a training camp practice.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
The comparison that was made by someone who was physically present and had just attended both an Usher concert and a Chris Brown performance is that neither of those artists received the kind of love that Shedeur got walking onto that field. Whether you think that comparison is fair or hyperbolic, the fact that it was even made by someone who was at all three events tells you something about the magnitude of what is happening in Cleveland. And here is the part that obliterates the most common criticism leveled at Shedeur's fanbase. The narrative for months has been that his support comes exclusively from a very specific demographic, that it is manufactured, that it is driven by social media algorithms and an online coalition that does not represent real football fans. That narrative died at training camp. The people losing their minds over Shedeur were not one demographic. They were kids of all races and backgrounds. They were teenagers. They were families. They were people who looked nothing like the stereotype that critics had constructed to dismiss the excitement as illegitimate. At a separate event, a broadcasting camp for young people ranging from 8 to 18 years old, the exact same energy was present. And these were not people who had been coached or prompted to react that way. These were kids and young adults who genuinely connected with Shedeur Sanders as a figure, as a brand, as a story that resonates beyond football. This is where the business case becomes undeniable. In professional sports, marketability is not a luxury. It is a fundamental component of franchise value. A quarterback who can play at a high level and simultaneously drive merchandise sales, stadium attendance, national television interest, and social media engagement is worth exponentially more to an organization than a quarterback who can play at the same level, but generates none of those ancillary revenue streams. And Shedeur Sanders is generating all of them before he has even started a regular season game. The hero's journey narrative applies here in a way that most sports analysts are not equipped to discuss because they do not think in terms of storytelling structure. But the arc is textbook. The young talent arrives with promise. The fall happens, in this case the fifth-round slide that the entire football world watched in real time. The journey through adversity begins. The doubters pile on. And then, piece by piece, practice by practice, throw by throw, the redemption starts to take shape. Every great sports story follows this structure. And the fact that the fall, the fifth-round slide, actually amplified the emotional investment instead of diminishing it, tells you that this story has a trajectory that extends far beyond one training camp or one season. People are invested in Shedeur Sanders in a way that transcends football. And that is the most valuable thing any franchise can have attached to a young quarterback. I want to be fair about this because fairness is what separates real analysis from agenda-driven content. Deshaun Watson had some nice throws during this practice. There was a deep comeback route to Jerry Jeudy that was thrown with anticipation and would have been a significant play if Jeudy had not slipped out of his break. There was a post-corner route that was not perfect but showed arm talent and willingness to attack downfield. These are real positives that deserve acknowledgement. But here is the problem that keeps showing up, and it is the one problem that matters more than anything else in a quarterback competition. The interceptions over the middle of the field are not going away. Watson's ability to throw the ball outside the numbers has never been the concern. He can make those throws. He has always been able to make those throws. But when the ball needs to go over the middle, when the throw requires threading a needle between a linebacker dropping into coverage and a safety breaking on the route, when anticipation and timing have to be perfect because the window is measured in inches and milliseconds, that is where the wheels keep coming off. 3 interceptions in 3 days of camp. And these are not unlucky tips or deflections that bounce the wrong way. These are throws that went directly to defenders who were sitting in passing lanes, waiting for exactly the kind of decision that Watson keeps making in traffic over the middle. Quincy Williams picked one off with such ease that it looked like the ball was thrown to him intentionally. If Williams had not caught it, Steele was right behind him ready to make the same play. That is not a coverage scheme problem. That is not a receiver running the wrong route. That is a quarterback making a read that the defense had diagnosed before the ball was even released. And in a competition where the margin between starter and backup is paper thin, turnovers are the one category that tips the scale more than anything else. You can have the best arm in the building. You can make the prettiest deep ball anyone has ever seen. But if you are giving the ball to the other team at a rate that would project to double-digit interceptions over a full season, none of that arm talent matters. Interceptions are drive killers. Interceptions are momentum destroyers. Interceptions are the single most reliable predictor of losing football games at the professional level. And right now, 3 days into camp, Watson has 3 of them while Shedeur has 0. If you are watching this on Gridiron Ground, you know we do not pick sides based on name recognition or contract size. We follow the evidence. And the evidence right now says that the quarterback playing the cleanest football in Cleveland is the one with the smallest contract and the least experience. That does not mean Watson cannot turn it around. That does not mean he is finished as a professional quarterback. Camp is long. Pads have not even come on yet. There is time for improvement and there is time for regression from every quarterback in that room. But the trend line matters. And right now the trend line says Watson is moving in one direction while Shedeur is moving in the other. The onus is always on the veteran. That is not a controversial statement. That is just how quarterback competitions work. The veteran has the resume, the experience, and the benefit of the doubt. But the benefit of the doubt evaporates when the turnovers pile up and the rookie is standing right there showing you what clean, mistake-free football looks like. This is Gridiron Ground and we are calling it exactly how the tape shows it. No agenda, no favoritism, just football. The next phase of this training camp is where the real separation happens, and it is the phase that should terrify anyone who has already written their conclusion about this quarterback competition. Pads are coming. Full contact is coming. The protective bubble of shorts and helmets and 7-on-7 periods is about to be replaced by the violent, chaotic reality of professional football, where 300-pound men are trying to put you on the ground on every single snap. This is where the conversation shifts from arm talent and accuracy to pocket presence, toughness, decision-making under duress, and the willingness to stand in the pocket and deliver the football when every instinct in your body is telling you to run. It is also where the offensive line issues that have been simmering in the background will either get resolved or become the dominant storyline of the entire preseason. Communication breakdowns that are forgivable in shells become devastating in pads. Missed assignments that result in a free rusher getting a clean shot at the quarterback change the entire dynamic of how a young player processes information and trusts his protection. Shedeur has already shown he can handle the mental side of the game in a controlled environment. The question now is whether that composure holds up when the hits are real. And if the early returns are any indication, there is reason to believe it will. The weight loss metaphor that was used to describe his development is actually the most accurate way to frame what is happening. You do not see the results of consistent work overnight. You put in the reps day after day, make the right decisions in the quiet moments when nobody is watching, resist the temptation to take shortcuts, and then one day you look in the mirror and realize you are a completely different person than you were 6 months ago. That is where Shedeur is right now. The off-season work has accumulated. The mental reps have compounded. The film study has translated into on-field processing speed that is visibly faster than anything he showed last year. And now the test gets harder. But here is what should genuinely concern anyone still clinging to the idea that Watson is the clear starter. The pre-snap operation of this offense is going to be the ultimate separator when pads come on. Monken demands a level of command at the line of scrimmage that goes far beyond calling a play and snapping the football. 10 different cadences. Pre-snap reads that require the quarterback to process defensive alignments and make adjustments in seconds. Motion packages that have to be executed with precision timing, or the entire concept falls apart. The quarterback who masters that pre-snap game is the quarterback who wins this competition. Full stop. It does not matter how pretty your deep ball is if you cannot get the offense lined up correctly. Communicate the protection calls. and snap the ball on time without penalties killing drives before they even start. And right now, that is an area where every quarterback in that room has work to do. The pre-snap penalties, the illegal procedures, the communication breakdowns between the quarterback and the offensive line, those are the things that will determine this competition more than any highlight throw or any interception. The quarterback who cleans that up first wins. And based on the trajectory we have seen over 3 days, based on the mental maturity that has been on display, based on the zero turnover football that has become the defining characteristic of Shedeur's camp so far, there is a very real possibility that the answer Cleveland has been looking for is already in the building, already taking reps, already earning trust, already making the kind of throws that make owners stand behind huddles and fans lose their minds at practice like they are at a concert instead of a football field. The story is not finished, but the chapters that have been written so far are telling a very clear narrative. 3 days of Cleveland Browns training camp have produced more meaningful evidence about the future of this franchise than 6 months of offseason speculation ever could. Shedeur Sanders is throwing the ball with accuracy, anticipation, and poise that defies the narrative that has been attached to him since draft night. The veterans in that quarterback room are not separating themselves in the way the depth chart suggests they should be. The defense looks like a unit that is ready to compete at a high level right now, not 3 years from now. The owner is watching. The coordinator is building something real. And a fan base that was supposed to be manufactured and limited to a narrow demographic is showing up in numbers, and with energy that this city has not seen attached to a single player in recent memory. The business case, the football case, and the cultural case are all pointing in the same direction. And while it is still early, while pads have not come on, while there are dozens of practices and preseason games left before any final decisions are made, the trajectory is unmistakable. Something is happening in Cleveland that the mainstream sports media is going to have to reckon with sooner than they thought. Gridiron Ground will be here every single day, tracking every throw, every rep, every subtle signal that tells the real story behind the headlines. Drop your prediction in the comments right now. Who is the Week 1 starter? Say it with conviction, because when the answer becomes official, we are going to come back to this comment section and see who was paying attention and who was just guessing. Gridiron Ground, we show the work.